start with the theme of 10s and just, even when you just get out of bed in the morning, it doesn't even have to be a 10-minute workout. Do 10 of something, just get that blood flowing. Because when you start to create small little habits with micro goals, you're going to want to try like a high workout. It won't be as scary to go and do that workout because you've taken those little baby steps to get yourself there.
Welcome, everybody, to Be Your Own Hype Girl, the podcast where we keep it real, dive into hot topics, and have meaningful convos with guests from all different walks of life. Over the last decade, through our high fitness, we've inspired millions to live their best lives and fall in love with their perfectly imperfect selves. We became each other's hype girls, and now we're here to help you become your own.
This podcast is all about leaning into who you already are, amplifying your unique traits, quirks, and everything that makes you you. So buckle up for some honest, fun, and insightful chit chat that might just rock your world, definitely boost your confidence. What are you afraid of? Being awesome? Let's do this.
Alrighty, so today's episode, Amber and I are especially excited about this because we are welcoming the one and only Jessica Power Cyr. And yes, I have to say her full name every time I talk about her. And the thing that's so fun about bringing Jess on this podcast is she was integral in myself and Amber becoming in the fitness industry, becoming fitness instructors. She is who talked me into doing my very first fitness training. I owe it all to her. She's been in our lives for the last 20 years, and we are so excited. Welcome to the podcast, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me, you two. Like, what an honor. And I love watching how you guys have grown, where you started, where you've taken your brand, and where you truly are hype girls. You have inspired so many people with everything that you've done, but especially with the high fitness and getting people moving. Really, at the end of the day, it's getting people moving and getting people comfortable within their own skin.
That means so much to us coming from you. I mean, literally, that is what you do. Is your enthusiasm for fitness is so contagious. How could you not want to become a part of it with you in charge of it? And it's just you guys have to understand how amazing she is. When I was asking for what are your credentials, we left about 5 out because there's just too many. She is so educated in fitness and just such a beautiful, fun, vibrant woman. And go, Jess. We want to be you. We love you.
We always talk about like that one person that like sparks that in you. And I remember, I always tell this story, but when I was moving from Utah to Calgary, I was so young. I didn't know what I was doing. I show up at this gym and I remember telling my mom, I'm going to teach fitness. And she's like, that's not really a job. And like, I thought I was going to do that. And Jess was telling me, she's like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to take this training. I'm doing this AFLCA. And you really did it for us. But before we jump in, give us like the 20-second Jessica Power Cyr pitch credentials. Who are you? What do you do? What's your passions? Give it to us there.
Okay. Number one, my passion is people. Everything is about people. I mean, it's so hard. I mean, we're not great at talking about ourselves, right?
Come on, brag away.
I will do it. So I have a Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology. I found out early in my education that I was really good at science and particularly exercise physiology. I got really passionate about that. Then I didn't really know what to do after I finished my 4-year degree. So I moved on and I did a master's in exercise physiology, specializing in chronic health conditions. And so I did my education in New Brunswick in Canada, but then I also went down to the States. I actually did my master's in Pennsylvania at East Stroudsburg University. I am also a clinical exercise physiologist with the American College of Sports Medicine. I'm a clinical exercise physiologist with the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, and I'm also a master trainer for a number of big certifications. So pretty fun. And I also thanks you guys for letting me toot my own horn.
I get chills from your credentials. You are such a bad bee. I'm going to say you are a bad bee. You are so awesome. This all got sparked, this podcast, because I needed credits for my fitness certification. And so, of course, I'm going to pick your course. And I went in and my jaw was on the floor. But we're going to get to that later about what you talked about, because it was it rocked my world. But
Thank you.
coming up in the fitness industry as you as our leader was such a gift. We were so lucky. My key memory, just for a little funny story, is I remember Emily and I were training for our fitness, and I'm like, okay, so I want to like be like Emily and like teach that well. And you're like, no, Emily's a unicorn. It's gonna take a while to get there. Most people do not just like throw down like that. She's a damn unicorn. I'm like, okay, I'll work hard.
You were a superstar right off the bat. You absolutely were a superstar right off the bat.
I know. I think it's so funny. So just so people know, people are always wondering, first of all, how Amber and I met. It's so funny because I'm like, go back to our very first podcast because I lived in Canada. So I moved there as this young 21-year-old, 22 at the time. And I get a random job because I'm like, I'm going to work at a gym. And both Amber and Jess work at this gym called Heavens. You've heard us talk about it. That's where Amber and I met. That's also where we met Jess. And so, yes, you trained us to become fitness instructors. But like, what were your thoughts? Like, just like throwing back to that time, like we were so young and you were so kind, like to me, and so nice. And I just think back on how you built me up then. You have always been a cheerleader to us. And I just want you to know how much that means to us. It truly does. Because we look at you as the icon and we look up so much to you.
The ultimate hype girl. I mean, even in that circle.
You guys are also the ultimate hype girls, right?
Yeah, but even in that circle, like even in our circle, not a lot of people, because people are worried that if they help you, then you're going to be better than them. And, you just never had that mentality because you're so confident. And I think that's something that's very important is that when you're confident in your own skills, then you don't need to do that. And that's something you really have.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. I think also Heavens was the gold standard for fitness instructors. There were really, really high expectations and there was really high expectations from our member base, but there was also really high expectations from the owners and also the other instructors. And you guys rose to the top. You showed up, you put the work in, you practiced. I remember watching you, Amber, in the studio before you'd like teach one of Helen's classes and practice till it became second nature. And again, you put the work in, you were willing to put yourselves out there. And not everybody's willing to do that. It's scary to put yourselves out there because there's always that fear of rejection. And, and failure. And in my mind, there's really no such thing as failure. And I'm going to tell a fun story about my failure. So when I first became a fitness instructor, I got asked, I was working at a fitness club called Lucille Roberts in Brooklyn. So it's kind of like the Canadian standard of spa lady. And I worked at Lucille Roberts and they had this studio where like 100 people would show up to do step classes and high-low classes. They were talking, this is early 2000s. And I was already a group fitness instructor at this time. I was in my early 20s, so I thought like I was way too cool for school. And they asked me to sub. They didn't even audition me. They should have. And they asked me to sub. And I went in way too confident. And I messed up all the choreography. There were over 100 people in that room. And by the end of the class, there were 6 people left.
Oh, no.
And I got kicked off my high horse so fast. And it was so humbling. And it was so embarrassing. It was so many emotions. But I learned from that. And it was a great lesson. It reminded me that you can never go into anything unprepared, that you have to practice, that, to do a good job, you're going to have to put good work into it. And I made sure that I never would allow myself to put myself in a situation like that ever again. And so it was a good learning opportunity for failure, but and humbling, and I learned a lot from it. So, and I made sure people were awful to me, and they should have been. I was not prepared to teach that class. People's time is valuable. And it was like a Sunday at like 10 a.m. And you're talking like I was in Flatbush in Brooklyn. There's no parking. So people had to it wasn't an easy situation. So, like I always made sure after that, like to really try to set people up for success, set myself up for success, but also set the people up around me for success. And kind of continuing on that realm is, I've had, just like you guys have had, I've had people be awful to me in my life, and I've never wanted to be that person. And I love people, and I see the best in people, and I always want to help people be their best, because when they look good, guess what? I also look good.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's a win-win situation. Because then people look back and they're like, no, you did this. Not that I necessarily did that, but they still know I'm associated with those people.
Well, yeah, that's what people need to understand. When you help others shine, you shine bright. You don't get dull, you get shinier. And it's something point that I'm learning as I'm growing is like, even like I'm taking tennis, and so far I've been able to kind of be a cockroach of tennis and make my way through because I'm just so tenacious and I'm athletic. But my recent coach is like, when it becomes easy because you've practiced so much, that's when you've mastered it. It's the same as aerobics. You see someone teaching this amazing class, the thousands of hours that they put in to do it is an important element of life. Is nothing is easy. You have to put in the work. And so that's a great lesson for people too.
Yeah, easy.
Well, I was even thinking today, I've been teaching fitness close to almost 20 years. We're like 19, 20. And I have been teaching high basically every day for the last 11 years. And I was thinking in class, I don't think people realize, because I saw some new instructors got certified this last weekend, and they're like, I have a whole new respect. Like, people really do. When you go through a fitness training, you have a whole new respect. Yeah. But I was thinking during class, I was like, I don't think people like, I still study for hours before every class that I do. Like, I truly like have to review and I practice. And I think people would just look at us, all three of us, and think like, oh, they just do that in their sleep. And there's sometimes that you could throw it down if you needed to. But I truly, like you said, value people's time. I want to make it the best experience possible. So I am passionate about the people and what they're going to get from it. And I put the work in behind it. And I just don't think people think like, oh, that just comes easy. And it's like, no, I'm just like every single instructor out there, and I put in the work every single night to make a class like a good class.
Give it your all. You give it your all, 300% every time you do. That is one of your superpowers, is that you give everything your all.
Well, I just mean like people, like you have to put in the work because we value what people. I love how you said that. Yeah. Okay, so we want to talk about, and this is what Amber brought you in. We want to talk about cardio because, as you know, if you pay any attention to the buzz on the gram or the fitness world, I'm not saying this all around, but cardio has gotten a real bad rap lately. Like, it's like, oh, you're going to ruin your progress if you do cardio. If you're not, and it just boggles my mind, because being a well-rounded wellness individual, like, you need cardio, like literally our hearts, our minds, our mental, and you have become like an expert in cardio. So tell us just a little bit, like, you've always been a champion of cardio, but just kind of dig into that a little bit for us and what you think about what the fitness world is saying right now surrounding it.
I mean, and you guys have been around, just as long as I have in the industry. And, I'm pretty sure we all came from moms who exercise. And so the 20-minute workout, and you're getting shape, girl, and the Jane Fonda workouts and the buns of steel. And we've done all of those. And, the industry ebbs and flows constantly. So, in the 80s, it was all about the high impact and the cardio. And then, in the 90s, it started rolling out with total body conditioning workouts. And we kind of phased, we didn't necessarily completely phase out, of course, but we started doing more strength workouts. Like, I remember in the early 2000s starting to teach strength classes. There had never been strength classes before. So started teaching strength classes. And so, we've ebb and flow. And then the next generation comes in and they start telling us, like, this is how it is. And everything before it never existed. Like, I love seeing these exercises, and I get it. And this is a good thing. It's nothing wrong with it. But, I'm watching the 20-nothing-year-olds on Insta and TikTok, and they're doing their standing ab series. And I was like, girl, I've been doing that for 20 years. But there's nothing wrong that they're doing this, because they're bringing that attention up. So right now, yes, there's a major focus on strength training, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we also have to remember that cardiovascular training is actually the most important determinant of overall health. It's the number one. So the American College of Sports Medicine, ACSM, and the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, CSEP, say that they recommend 3 to 5 days per week or 150 minutes a week of moderate to vigorous aerobic in nature activity. Where our recommendations for both ACSM and CSEP is that we do 2 to 3 days per week of strength training and flexibility training. So they're pushing over here that we should be doing 3 to 5 days per week of cardio, where they're also recommending 2 to 3 days per week of strength training. So it's not that, strength training is a bad thing, because it's really important. And I'm going to talk about the difference in a moment. But the thing with cardiovascular training is that it takes care of our heart. It takes care of the lungs. It takes care of the pathways, being the arteries and the veins, but also on a cellular level, it's really important for us. So inside of our cells, we have these little organisms, and they're called mitochondria, and they're the powerhouse of all of our cells. And so it's really important for our mental health, for our heart, for our lungs, for our muscles, for really our whole body, that we are participating in cardiovascular training. Now, if somebody's worried that it's going to be potentially detrimental on their progress of what they've done in their strength training, then I would recommend that you do your cardio before your strength. Now, that's if somebody's really looking like they're really trying to add mass, then that's what I would recommend. But really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter when you do your cardio, unless, of course, you're really trying to hypertrophy, really trying to add that mass on. Do your cardio before, or do your cardio on a completely different day. But we need cardio. So going on to that strength side, think of strength training is important for functional independence. So think about, it's going to be important for us to be able to pick up our heavy luggage when we go on a great trip. That's what we want strength training for. When we're going on a fabulous shopping spree, when we're carrying the groceries into the house, that's what strength training is really important for, is that ability to pick things up and put them back down. Functional independence, getting in and out of bed, on and off the toilet, in and out of a car. So think strength training is going to be muscles, tendons, ligaments, all of that great stuff. Think cardio is going to be heart, lungs, and all of the pathways that take care of it. So it's not that necessarily one is better than the other. We need to be doing cardiovascular training, because also with a poor cardiovascular system, you're not going to necessarily see great benefits from your strength workout either. And you're going to look really old when you go up a flight of stairs and you're like,
yeah. And I think that's why, with everything is it's not one or the other. And we've never said that. Yes,
you guys are so good for that.
We started as a cardio format. We have a high impact. We have a low impact. We now have we have tone. We've, done these things. But the thing is we always say, you should be doing it all. You should be lifting your weights. There's not one all be all, because you shouldn't just do this or just do that. And overall, I think that's why I get so frustrated with the fitness industry, is we all know what a well woman, a well man looks like, is that balance right at the top, where we're putting in the work, we're getting stronger, we're fueling our body well before it slips down that other side of excessiveness, right? But that well person at the very top is well-rounded in all varieties, because that's what we need. And what happens, and is what social media and what the media tries to tell you, is that the only thing that matters is what you look like. And that's what makes me start my blood boiling, because It should be about the best kind of fitness is the fitness that you will show up and do. If you hate cardio, that's great, but get out and walk or find something you like because you need it. But at the end of the day, that's what kills me about the media, is because you have to have everything. You need to be doing it all.
Yeah. And always that well person that you're talking about, they look the best. You're always like, oh, wow, you look at, they're glowing. They're amazing. It's not about being thin or whatever you're after. So I love that well person.
That well-rounded, right? And kind of coming back to that is and don't get me wrong, there's all a part of us. As much as I even say, don't exercise to burn calories, it's still in the back of my head too. I exercise because it makes me look good, but it also makes me feel good. And we also have to look at and when we have our youth on our side, and I'm talking like your 20s, even your 30s, but when you start to roll into your 40s, you start to like realize like, when we start watching people age, particularly if we're fortunate enough and we still have our parents or even our grandparents, is looking at that functional independence. And so cardiovascular training is so important in making sure that we're not developing cardiovascular disease. Now, you may develop cardiovascular disease, but maybe you're going to delay that cardiovascular disease 5, 7, 10 years. Because again, it all comes down to, did you choose the right parents? Right?
Yeah.
Family history matters, but can you push that? Can you push it out? So yeah, maybe you will get cardiovascular disease. Maybe you will get diabetes. All of those things are all based with cardiovascular disease. Cancer, and we're going to talk about cancer, I'm sure, later. But again, all of those are related to cardiovascular training. So can we push it out so that we can age well? Because if we look at the stats right now, we peaked. We ready for this? We peaked for health. Canadian and American adults, aging adults, peaked for health in 1996. I'm just gonna let that absorb. Peaked for health. That means we've been crashing and burning since 1996. We are living longer, but we are not living with quality. We are pumped full of medication to live, but we're not living with quality. We're not living our best, most vibrant lives because, again, our society has created it so it's all or none. If I don't exercise as hard as I can, and we started that trend in the 80s and we've carried that trend throughout, all these decades, is like, no, 10 minutes, going out for a 10-minute walk is going to be better than doing nothing. It's, going up and down the stairs a few times would be better than doing nothing. Even doing like 10 chair squats, for example, would be better than doing nothing. But we've created this all or none kind of concept. And people go, if I can't do it, then I'm not going to do it at all. And that's really what's happened, unfortunately.
Well, and we compare it, we use an analogy with brushing your teeth. And we're like, okay, so you brush hard for a day straight. Okay, you're going hard for a whole day. Then you don't for 3 weeks. And then you're like, is that good? Or, for example, I forgot to brush my teeth yesterday. Am I just going to be like, screw it, I'm out. There's no more brushing. That just doesn't make any sense. So you just do what you can every day, and that is the best method. It really is. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's important for people when they self-sabotage with the, I didn't do it, I suck, I'm out.
Yeah.
You think about, well, I wouldn't do that with brushing my teeth. Why am I doing this with my fitness? It makes no sense. It's sabotage.
Yeah. And I mean, I get where people are coming from because and again, we've created a sense that people can't exercise on their own. We've taken power away from people. So we've told them that you have to go to the gym and you have to have a personal trainer and you have to go to a group fitness class, that you can't do these things on your own. But if we would enable and kind of, I'm going to use the term self-efficacy, which is a sense, it's self-confidence. If we could build people's self-efficacy up around exercise, like up somewhere around 33% of adults between the ages of 18 to 64 are meeting the minimum requirements for physical activity every week. It's even lower for children. Like the stats are crazy right now for children meeting the minimum requirements. So it's somewhere around like 12% of children are meeting the minimum requirements for physical activity.
12%.
12% around that of meeting the minimum requirements for physical activity. So, if we don't have children moving, are we going to have adolescents moving? Are we going to have young adults moving? All of that starts in our young age. So that's why I made that comment about like our exercising moms. They gave us that self-efficacy. They built that self-confidence. They created this habit with us and empowered us to be active. But for a lot of individuals, they don't have that. They don't know where to start, and they don't know how to do it without that support.
Okay.
Well,
so
I think too. Oh, sorry.
Listening, where do they start? Like, what's your advice? Someone that's just like, they don't know where to start. Where do they start?
Micro goals, start small. Honestly, you can start in your house. And, one of the initiatives that I've taken on recently with one of my colleagues, Simone Hodgkinson, is we created a bunch of 10-minute workouts. And, and really at the end of the day, by the time I do the introduction and get into the video, it's about an 8-minute workout. 10, what I tell people if they're just getting started, keep with the theme of tens. Go for a 10-minute walk. Walk up and down your stairs 10 times. Try doing 10 squats. Do 10 push-ups on your stairs or the wall. You don't even have to go to the ground. I get it. I don't want to go on the ground. Right? Just do 10 push-ups on the wall. Do 10 push-ups on the stairs. Just do things that, a 10-second plank. Start with the theme of tens and just, even when you just get out of bed in the morning, it doesn't even have to be a 10-minute workout. Do 10 of something, just get that blood flowing. Because when you start to create small little habits with micro goals, then you're going to crave to start doing something more. And as you get in better shape, you're going to want to try like a high workout. It won't be as scary to go and do that workout because you've taken those little baby steps to get yourself there.
Yeah, that's good advice. I like the tens. I really
10, 10, baby.
And I also think with children, with kids getting active, I think sometimes what happens is parents kind of use it as like a punishment. Like you need to move your body. You have to, and it becomes this thing that they feel like, and it gets this negative association with fitness or moving their body, or it's a punishment. And so one thing that I think is really important is just like play and movement and stuff they enjoy. Like I've even seen with my daughter, she's all of a sudden started going on these long walks. It didn't start that way, but she started to go out and just like, this is kind of nice. And she'd like either listen to something or we chat. And now she wants to go longer because she loves the way it makes her feel. And it wasn't from a punishment base. It wasn't from this. And it's like, just let kids move in a normal way and they will have a healthy relationship with movement because that's what we want. And I think what we see is the two extremes. We see the sedentary kids and young adults, and then we see the ones that are using as punishment. And we need to find just like, move your body because it feels good. That's what we always say. Move your body because it feels good and you love it. And you love the way you feel after.
Absolutely. And we are in a mental health crisis right now. And if you think about that, it's not that mental health, that people didn't have depression or anxiety before. It's that we're finally talking about it. But another thing that's happening, and I want to stress that I'm not taking away from a clinical diagnosis of depression and anxiety, because about 10 to 15% of the population, it really doesn't matter how much we exercise or change our diet and all of that stuff. They're going to have depression. They're going to experience anxiety. But if we look at the rest of the population, is that movement matters because we are designed. If we go back to us being cave people, we have evolved so quickly, but on a cellular level, we are still cave people. We had to move to survive. Our body responds by movement. And so I'm, just touching on the lymphatic system. Our lymphatic system, which is basically our warriors in our body, it doesn't have its own pump. So what it does is it moves around. The lymphatic fluid moves around with the blood. The heart helps it move. But when we're sedentary and we're not moving, the lymphatic fluid, of course, is moving around, but it's not moving around as efficiently than when we're actually being physically active, because then it starts pumping around the body and then it can do its job. And its job is to move hormones around and all kinds of other really great nutrients. So when we do specifically cardiovascular-based activity, we release a lot of really good hormones. So we often associate exercise with endorphins, but we also get serotonin, we get dopamine, we also get BDNF, and that's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And that can really help protect us with our mental health, but it can also really protect us with things like dementia and Alzheimer's. And so even you may carry the gene variant, but it's a matter of, did we turn that gene variant on? And so what BDNF does is it goes in and it repairs the neurons, it helps create new neurons, and it protects the neurons that we do have. Another hormone that we release is norepinephrine. So specifically from cardiovascular based activities and cardiovascular activities that are a little bit more vigorous. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't go for that 10-minute walk, but maybe you take a minute and you go into an interval and you get your heart rate up a little bit. You're going to have a really great hormonal response. So, kind of going on there and thinking about that mental health response, but also coming back to kids. If we build their self-efficacy, and, I used a couple of years ago, because I'm talking Canadian, and Canada has been here a lot longer than 150 years. But Participation Canada did an initiative a couple of years ago when Canada was celebrating their 150th birthday, where they encouraged people to do 150 different activities. And what I did with my kids, we actually did 75 of the activities. And so I know.
That sounds so
We did it all. We went into curling lessons. We went climbing. We played tennis. We played badminton. We did table tennis like ping pong. We went swimming. We went skiing. We went snowshoeing. We went skating. We played hockey. We did it. Well, we didn't do it all, obviously, but we did 75 different activities. Now, did my kids turn around and did really well with these activities? No, but now we built their physical literacy. So my kids now know how to hold a tennis racket. They know how to hold a badminton racket. They know how to hold a hockey stick. They know how to skate. They may not be great at it, but they have enough self-efficacy. So let's say somebody's like, hey, let's go skating. My kids can be like, you know what? I could skate. You want to go play tennis? I know how to serve a tennis ball back to you. They may not be the best tennis players, but they have a little bit of that physical literacy. And I think, if we have that opportunity, make it fun. It doesn't have to be overly serious, but, just build on building that confidence.
I love that.
I love that so much. Okay, so when I was at your session and my jaw was on the floor and I'm texting Emily going, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You talked a lot about, okay, and we have this a lot where we're like, come to our class and just go at your own pace. So you talked a lot about in that session about if you go like this or you go like this, there's really not that much difference. You can still get a lot of effort from just going low and doing your own thing. So I want you to just kind of talk about that because I just loved it so much. And then we're going to get into a bit of your story at the end.
Yeah. So really at the end of the day, it's all about moving. And as people get more fit, so we have a couple of different energy systems in the body and we have different muscle fiber types. And that really plays on that. So if you meet an individual and they're really good, they're like, I love going for a long run, or they like going for long walks, I'm going to tell you that individual probably has what we call type 1 muscle fibers. They're more of an endurance-based individual. That means they have more muscle fibers that are going to support that energy system. We're an individual who has more of what we call the type 2 muscle fibers that are more fast twitch. Those people are going to like to do short burst intervals and they're going to excel at those. And they're not going to necessarily like going for those long walks. And so it's really important to think about how can I manipulate my workout? And there's nothing wrong. And that's the great thing is going to your classes that you guys offer all kinds of options is doing something is better than doing nothing. And working at that lower intensity because we all have a ceiling and we can raise that ceiling. So if you're new to exercise and maybe your ceiling is here, and you're like, okay, I can just do the step touch, but I can't do the skater jump move that they're doing in the class, the higher impact, because I'm already gassing out right here because that's my ceiling. Well, when you start to push that ceiling, it's kind of like you're going to keep pushing that ceiling up so that every time you come to class and you maybe work a little bit harder the next class, and it could have been even if it's just for 10 seconds, your body's going to respond to that. Help raise your ceiling. I mean, your ceiling only goes so high. But I mean, if you're starting here, you've got so much room for improvement that you can grow and you can keep getting better. Now, if somebody's coming in and they're already an athlete and they've already been doing lots of intervals, then maybe their ceiling's here and they can't necessarily improve that much more, but they're gonna be like, I love this because I can be really successful. But it's important to understand that if you haven't moved before, just moving is better than doing nothing. Starting with little micro steps, start with something small, and knowing that we have different energy systems and we got different muscle fibers in the body. And on average, most people are about half. So half of the slow twitch muscle fibers, half of the fast twitch muscle fibers. But then there's individuals like myself. I'm really good at intervals. That is my strength. And I actually know that for a fact because I've done genetic testing. And I know that I have more of the fast twitch muscle fibers. So I'm really good at 15 to 45-second intervals. You will never see me run anywhere. If you ever see me running, you should run too because your life is in danger. And I don't do well with that. And it is what it is. So,
I for sure am full of slow twitch. My endurance can go for a very long time. So I think I have way more of that going on for me.
Yeah,
so that's so fun.
Assess yourself just based on what it is. Like when I was a kid, I'd sprint out those boys for 100 meters. Like I'd beat them all. Yeah. But if they asked me to run a mile, I'd be like dying. So I think you just naturally know what your body is. That's very interesting. See,
it's so fast.
I have to come back to your course. I was filming, I was taking notes and texting Emily. I'm like, we're getting Jess on our podcast.
I mean, as you guys can see, just from like this 40 minutes, like her brain is just so smart. You are incredible. We know that you have worked out like all of us. We've been, exercise lovers. Like we love it. We love the way it makes us feel, the way it makes us look. You've had it forever. And these last couple of years, your body has really been put through the test. You were actually diagnosed with cancer. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that and how that even changed your mentality with working out and your body and everything?
100%. So it is going to be a year soon. Actually, I think it's a year tomorrow. Isn't that wild?
Wow, timing.
Yeah, isn't that? I know. I get to hang out with you guys. I think a lot of it is it's perspective. Is that it's pretty sucky. Yeah. So I found it. It's breast cancer. I was laying in bed, and I don't want to sit here and do this to anybody because I wasn't always great at doing my self-breast exams. And I did them occasionally, and I was literally laying in bed, and I always went for mammograms because I had some complications after breastfeeding with the kids and stuff like that with an infected milk duct. And everyone told me it's not a problem. And I have been going for mammograms for 5 years, and it was painful and it was uncomfortable. And I would go back to my doctor and I'd be like this doesn't feel right. And I'm usually a pretty good self-advocator. But again, I'm not going to argue necessarily over argue with the doctor. And if the radiologist is saying this is nothing and my doctor's saying this is nothing, then okay, I'm not going to sit there and make this big of a deal with it. Yeah. And I just happened to be laying in bed and I was doing a self-exam, and it was like a frozen pea. It was like a pearl earring. And all of a sudden it's there. And I said to my husband, I won't repeat the language that I use. You guys both know I'm a little bit of a sailor.
We love it. We love it.
But I won't on your podcast. But I had some choice language, and I said to my husband, I'm like, I have cancer. And he's like, you don't have cancer. You can't just diagnose yourself. And then I said, okay, put your hand right here. And he was like, oh, so if you have cancer, it's really small. So I called right away to get a mammogram and the ultrasound. And because I had an open standing order, every year in June, I would actually go get a mammogram and an ultrasound. But because I called and I said that I had found a lump, now I had to actually go get a referral from my doctor. So I know, isn't that so silly?
Ridiculous.
Again, the Canadian healthcare system, I will tell you, it's been absolutely amazing. But on silly little things like that, that's where I get a bit frustrated. Because I'll tell you, my journey through cancer has been outrageously amazing through our healthcare system. But anyways, so they were like, well, we'll get you in 6 weeks. I'm like, I have cancer. I can't wait 6 weeks for this because the cancer is going to be growing. So I happened to, one of my colleagues actually works. She used to work in medical clinics. So she's like, girl, just give me your requisition. I'm going to get you in. She called all the clinics around the city and she got me in the week later. And I went in. I wasn't even done putting my shirt back on, and the radiologist, I swear to God, came in, bam, kicked the door in. I'm exaggerating. But like I was like halfway in my shirt, and the radiologist, she was like, I don't like it. I don't like what I'm seeing. You're going for a biopsy next week. And I was like, oh. But I knew you got to listen to your gut. I knew. And so I went for the biopsy. I was actually in Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories, for those of you who are not familiar with it. Yeah. Working in Yellowknife, it was shame on my doctor for calling me on a Friday at 3:28. I was teaching a certification at 3:30. My doctor called and I'm like, oh. And I took it. And that's when I got my diagnosis 2 minutes before I had to go teach a course. Right? And I had to teach like a whole Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then fly out and like fly back to Calgary.
Oh my
I just did this.
Yeah.
Put it over here. And I'm like, I am here to create an exceptional experience for these people. I can't change this. This is not going away. It's out of my control. And I was like, I'm going to teach this course.
You
And then,
always bring your A game.
oh my God. Then I processed.
Like you just got a diagnosis and you're like, these people, their time is so important. I want to get them this and then that's.
They're paying me so much money to be here. So, I just was like, okay, we're moving on. And then the time came, where I had to make decisions. And so right away, immediately that same day, I was like, okay, this is my life now. What are the things that I can control? And what are the things I can't control? And I'm not going to sit here and stress out about the things I can't control. I can't control right now that I have cancer. I can't control what's necessarily happening with that cancer. I can't control the healthcare system. And so what could I control? Overall, I was a pretty good eater. Overall, I followed all the rules. And I could have spiraled and I could have been, why me? And I do this and I do that. And this is not fair. There's no history. Nobody in my family on both sides, nobody's ever had cancer. Until like just recently, my aunt who's 78 got breast cancer, and we don't even have the same type of cancer, but she just got it a smidgen before me. That was like the first time ever in both sides of my family. So I could have spiraled and I went, no, because that's not going to do me anything. So we have 4 pillars of health that we can focus on. So the number one pillar, of course, is sleep. So if you're not sleeping, guess what? You're not going to eat well. You're not going to be physically active, and your mental health is not going to be in a good place. So one of my first priorities was making sure that I'm sleeping well, and I'm not going to sit there and lay in bed and spiral out of control. I'm going to do a lot of positive self-talk, and I'm going to focus on sleep. And immediately, I actually started taking a lot more naps. Like I prioritize 8 to 10 hours every single night for sleep. And I had before, but like I got strict on it. I 100% changed my diet. So I took out all refined sugars completely out of my diet. Now, that doesn't mean I haven't slowly brought them back into my life. I love candy. I love gummies. I love them so much. But at that moment, while I had cancer in my body, I was like, I am not feeding this cancer. So I took out refined sugars out of my diet 100%. I took gluten out of my diet. I basically was just eating like fruits and vegetables. And you're like, yeah, but fruit has sugar, not refined sugar. And so that's the big thing. And I was still getting carbohydrates in my diet. You still have to have a balanced diet. And I didn't mention a while ago, I have a natural nutrition diploma. Sorry there for a second. I do have a
talking about it's like you have to leave out 5 things because there's just too many.
So I knew what I had to do with my diet because I had already done the training. So I completely changed my diet. I also upped my physical activity. Not that I wasn't already, but I actually started going for long walks. So I really upped my cardio, and I'm happy that we're having this cardio talk because, again, moving that blood flow, those hormones, moving my little warriors around my body to make sure that whatever was there, that it wasn't growing and it wasn't moving around my body. So again, I changed my sleep patterns, not necessarily, but I started taking more naps and making sure that I was sleeping well. I changed my diet. I upped my physical activity. Another thing too is I really upped my protein intake so that when I did go into surgery, I came in really strong going into surgery. And then with the protein, I also healed really fast. And I'll come back to that in a second. So again, sleep, the diet, physical activity, and mental health. Big, 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 big. So I made sure, I mean, of course, you're going to get down. But I didn't I let myself go there, but I didn't stay there. So I did. I was like, why me? And then I'm like, okay, shake it off. You don't have time for this. Boom, boom. We got to go spread the magic.
And I think that's important. People think I just have to not cry and I just have to deal with it.
You have to cry.
It is okay. It is good.
I was angry. I was upset. I mourned. I mourned all of it. I went through all of the emotions, and I still go through all of the emotions. But then I have to pause. What's the journey? Mm-hmm. What's the bigger picture? I mean, if not that I needed to get cancer to get this podcast with you guys.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I think of like so many. If you stop and you pause and you look at like, what are the lessons? So many amazing lessons have come out of this. And that's been really big. And so, I had the surgery. I was back teaching fitness classes a week later. And I didn't stop. I didn't let it get me down. I went through chemo. And same thing, I did my chemo, and then the same day I would go out and I would go for a major walk. And it was just, and it wasn't intense. It was just going for a walk, listening to my favorite music, super loud, giggling to myself, doing whatever I needed to do. But I made sure that I was active, and I also slept. So on my chemo days, I made sure that right after chemo, I let chemo do its job. I went and slept. I let it do what it needed to do, and then I got up. And I would go and be physically active. And then then chemo did its thing, and then I let it flow through me. I lost all my hair. Did you know you lose your nose hair when you go through chemo? And then, so there's nothing to stop your nose from running. When your nose runs, it runs. There's no nose hair to stop it. So I had eyebrows, I had no eyelashes, I had no nose hair, I had no hair in my nether regions, none of it. And
it's very hard.
You know what? I decided to make it when we had to shave my head. I decided to make it fun. So my girls and I and my husband, I had hair to my waist, similar to this hair color. Yes. I had hair to my waist, and I braided my hair and I let them cut it. And then we took my hair and we act like we were a bunch of single men taking pictures with our fish. So we have my whole family has pictures. They're like with this hair, and we decided let's not make this traumatic for my teenage girls, and let's have fun with this. So we took pictures with my hair. I let them shave my head. So I ended up. Well, the first haircut they gave me was a bob with little bangs, and I ended up looking like what's her name from The Incredibles with the big black glasses.
Oh yes. What is her name? It's like Edna.
I look just like Edna. And then after that, then they started shaving different pieces. And then we made TikToks, and, we cried and we laughed. But and I'm going to tell you right now, I was like one of those people that was really lucky. I actually looked really good bald.
Oh,
really of course good. You did. Of course. Because of your positivity, you shine and you radiate. And I'm sure you owned it because your confidence. And you're talking about this in such a positive way, but I know I've watched friends go through it. And I recently had a friend that had to advocate for a lump in her, and she's lucky that they got it all, but they did not. No one believed her, but they got it all. And so she doesn't have to do chemo, but she cut off her hair and donated it like in a bob and donated it. But we were talking about how you said like, the lessons and the journey and the service she's been able to allow for people that don't like to let people help you, the things you get to learn from allowing people in your life and the people you met through this journey that you never would have. It is, I know that through all the hell that it puts you through, there are those like magic moments and those blessings that come. And you're just like shining. I know how hard it is. I can see you tear up and then I tear up. But I know that like you talking about it is you're just so positive, and that is huge on your journey.
What's the update? Where are you at now? We want to know where you're at with your cancer, what they're saying. We want to know where you're at now with it.
So right now, I go for another mammogram and ultrasound next week. But prior to that, I had a CT scan, and right now I'm clear. I'm clear and free.
Yay!
But my gut right now, tells me everything is good. So I did it all. Got the cancer out, did the chemo, did the radiation. I'm on the immunotherapy that I'm on for a year, and again, really focusing on those 4 pillars of health and looking at, what's my journey in all of this, and how can I make a difference in other people's lives who are going through this that don't have the same support. So, I was really lucky. My husband has been phenomenal. I have teenage girls. You guys have teenage girls. My girls are 16 and 18, and teenage girls can be really mean. They have been so amazing with me. So, it is what it is. And is it fair? No. Cancer doesn't care. And, you got to keep moving forward. And my ultimate goal is I want to live to 100. I want to be Betty White. One day, don't be surprised. Like, I want to be an old lady actress one day. So I hope that you guys all of a sudden, you're like, I remember her.
Oh, you will be. I have no doubts you will be. Like, you just slayed it.
My retirement. I want to be an old lady actress.
Right here is you committing to it. You promised. You promised us this is going to happen. So now
anybody an agent out there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen up. She's ready.
Listen up.
We love this. It's been so fun to connect with you again. We look up to you so much. Like, honestly, you were such a pivotal part of my life. And I'm so grateful to see, we're all just like doing our best and keeping on and living these crazy lives with our kids and sickness and health and parents loss and it's just a crazy life. And we just believe in well-rounded health, and we do it because we love the people. I know every single one of us, we continue on this journey because we love the people. One thing we like to do to wrap up our podcast is to leave us, because, high fitness, to leave on a high of the week. So we want to hear from you. What's something that's like making you happy right now? Something that you're looking forward to? We want to hear about your high.
My high is being with you guys. And I did, I got this suit for you guys.
Oh, I love it.
We got to show the suit.
You look so good.
Oh,
yeah, show it off. Look how good she looks. Oh, the shoes.
You've always been.
Yes, Kate, Jess, you look so good.
I looked forward to, I've been looking forward to this forever, but this is what I've been looking forward to all week. So, we're ending on a high with high fitness.
Yes. We love you.
My high of the week is Jess and her inspiration that she really expresses herself through her outfits. And often we kind of wear our sweats and put our hair in the top knot and just kind of sludge out. So my high of the week is let's bring our personalities out with our clothes, inspired by Jess's red suit. That, just bring it out, have fun, get ready. You always feel better. I mean, you don't always have to. There's something good about being schlubby, but there's also something good about, feeling good about yourself, and let's express ourselves through our clothes because it's so much fun. Like, look at that suit. I'm so inspired.
So good. Will you please take a full body picture of it so we have that, because we will need to post this when it goes up.
I will absolutely. I'll get one of my team members to take a picture of
yes.
it. I'll make sure
we're so grateful for you.
We need your high.
Okay. I am going to tell you, but I have to say that's one of my favorite things when I lived in Canada. And Jess, she always would have different hair colors too. Like, she's done different hair colors. Like, I do love that so much. My high of the week, I think, is I don't know if this is high, but like an inspiration of the week is talking to Jess. I also have another friend who's going back in for a mammogram. They found something, and another friend. And I'm just like, let's take away from this also to advocate for our health. And like, that's a high for me to be like a reminder that we all need to advocate. We're in that age and that time, no matter what age you are listening to this, advocate for yourself and know that we're in your corner, and be your own hype girl, because that's what it's about. And that's a high for me to remember that. And once again, have these gentle reminders from these guests. So thank you so much. We're so grateful you came on here. We've been tracking you down, and this episode is going to be so special to so many people. So thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Be Your Own Hype Girl, where we get real and raw, and we'll see you next time.